Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All praises be unto the Most High Almighty Ahaya. This is the Essein Community Church of Christ. My name is Brother Shamar.
My name is Brother Tabak.
We'll be bringing forth today's Shabbat report / lesson. All right. We're going to be doing part 2 of last week's lesson, all right, which is Benjamin, the light of the world. All right. So just to get everybody caught up, that the Benjamin, the light of the world, it's not a 12 tribe breakdown per se, but it's showing Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin's actual purpose, and them being known as the light of the world. All right, which a lot of people are not hip to exactly Benjamin's role in the scriptures, and especially the incidences that was happening in the New Testament, how Benjamin played his part in there and what was actually going on. And the difference between Judah and Benjamin, all right, at the time of Christ and what was going on. And these things are all in prophecy. So we went through the lesson Benjamin, the light of the world, to bring that forth. All right, and we've seen that Benjamin, all right, started off, and his name was supposed to be son of sorrow, and the father changed it to the son of the right hand. All right, changing his fate. So first he had sorrow, and we went through that, how the first parts of his life was sorrow, not being with his mother, and what the tribe did to where they almost eliminated, and Israel having sorrow and weeping over them. All right, into how that changed after. So we're going to continue to where we left off this week concerning Benjamin, and bringing forth Benjamin and showing that Benjamin is the light of the world. All right, and exactly what it means by light of the world. And we went through and showed that Benjamin's territory was to have the actual temple of the Most High. And that was because Benjamin wasn't one of the ones that bowed down to Esau, all right, his father. Bowed down to Esau at the time, all right, where Jacob and the other Israelites, they were out at that time, and Benjamin wasn't born yet. All right, he wasn't a part of that bowing down to a man, another nation. So the holy spot where people were going to bow down and worship the Father was going to be given to Benjamin because of that purpose. All right, and then we showed Benjamin after the split being given to Judah as a light always, and we went into what that light is. All right, and that light was doctrine. Because you have the Levites doing the priesthood, and you have Judah being the kings, but then who's the one giving the doctrines? All right. And then we have the prophets who prophesy. So the doctrine differs from prophecy. Prophecy is something's going to happen. This is why he's sending people to warn them. Whereas doctrine is everyday understanding. So we're going to go jump right into it. We're going to start at Isaiah 53 and 1. Let's get that straight.
Right, Isaiah chapter 53, verse 1. Who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Most High revealed?
All right, so who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Most High revealed? We always use the scripture before anything, because even going back to Isaiah's days, a lot of people didn't believe the report, to why Isaiah would say, who shall believe the report? Because the more we figured out how the Most High operates, he works in secrecy. All right, so he sees a person who reaches a certain purity, and the word of the Lord is sent on to this person. Even when we looked at it, he's sent on to this person in the nighttime. All right, and this person is revealed by the word, from the word of the Lord, the thoughts and sayings of the Most High. And the person is sent on to the people to declare that. So that's like somebody coming to you and declaring this. So many times it's you having to believe this person's word. All right, and that's going back to when Moses was dealing with the Israelites. They always wanted a sign, because they're not seeing the dealings with the Most High dealing with them, dealing with Moses. All right, so that when Moses is relaying back to them what's being said, they want a sign for evidence and proof. All right, especially dealing with our type of people, you can imagine how that's goes. Somebody's coming and tell you that why they're pressing Moses for signs and stuff because they can't believe this stuff. All right, so people learning how the Most High operates. This is how false prophets came in, where, oh, you know what, I could go home now and say the Most High is talking to me, and come out and say, "Thus saith the Most High," and you would have to, it'd be up to the people to declare who they can believe, whose sayings is right, who's actually dealing with the Most High. And it'll be up to you to know the scriptures, to have your ears and your heart circumcised, and be able to have precept upon precepts and go through the scriptures. All right, so with that being said, we're not dealing with the Most High face to face, but we are dealing with our forefathers' records who dealt with the Most High face to face, and making sure that these things are interpreted and taught correctly. Where we stopped at was showing Joseph's relationship with Benjamin, all right, in Egypt, and their bond growing, all right, and Benjamin also knowing, Joseph also testing Benjamin's knowledge, all right, when it comes to the map of the stars, and Benjamin able to figure out that Joseph is in front of him. All right, also Benjamin was weeping in things for Joseph, and they were weeping together more than they were weeping with the other people, or the other tribes was weeping over Joseph. All right, Benjamin was, and Joseph's their bond was very tight. All right, so we're going to go now to Genesis 43 and 30, just to show you how Joseph was treating Benjamin in comparison to the other tribes. All right, just to show you there was always something different about Benjamin in comparison to the other tribes. All right, so say it the scriptures. So we're at Genesis 43 and 30.
Genesis chapter 43, verse 30. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber, and wept there. And he washed his face, and went out, and refrained himself, and said, Set on bread. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one at another. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him.
All right, so Benjamin's mess was 5 times more. All right, and that mess, we're going to go to Hebrew Strong's number H4864, and it's Masaeth, and it's properly abstractly a raising, as of the hands in prayer, a rising of flame, figuratively an utterance, concretely a beacon as raised, a present as taken, a mess or tribute, figuratively a reproach as burden, collection, sign of fire, great flame, gift, lifting up, mess, oblation, reward. So in this sense, it would be a reward, a gift, all right, a tribute, a mess, all right. So he was being given a gift, a reward, certain things. His rewards, his things that was being sent was more than the other people's, all right, more than the other tribes. So we're at Genesis 45 and 19.
Genesis chapter 45, verse 19. Now thou art commanded, this do ye. Take you wagons out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. Also regard not your stuff, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the children of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for the way. To all of them he gave each man changes of raiment. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of raiment.
All right, so here we see again Joseph, all right, dealing with the tribe of Benjamin, and he's given them 5 changes of raiment and 300 pieces of silver. All right, and the tribes is only mentioned as getting changes of raiment to show you that Joseph, because of Benjamin's righteousness and him understanding Benjamin's part in him being sold into Egypt and all of that, that Benjamin is not a part of that. And Benjamin's actually weeping for these things, all right? Because of that, he's dealing with Benjamin a different way because of Benjamin's integrity. Benjamin always has more integrity than the other tribes, all right? And this is just to show you, I was using Joseph as an example because Joseph, the way he's righteous and goodly, it's kind of like Christ, all right? And we're going to see Benjamin's relationship with Christ. So we're going to go to 1 Samuel 9 and 15 to show that even when the Most High had an opportunity to choose somebody over the tribes, all right, when he chose, all right, it was a Benjaminite, all right? And there's reasons because of this, all right? The Most High doesn't do anything for no reason. So the first one that he chose, all right, out of his own will when they wanted a king over him was a Benjamite. And we're going to go to 1 Samuel 9 and 15.
1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 15. Now the Most High had told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, Tomorrow, about this time, I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. And when Samuel saw Saul, the Most High said unto him, Behold, the man whom I spake to thee of, this same shall reign over my people.
All right, so when the Most High wanted to rescue the Israelites, all right, from the Philistines and appoint a king over the nation of Israel, he chose a Benjamite, a man out the land of Benjamin. All right, and we have to always remember, with the tribes, they always were divided into their own separate lands. And this is key to remember coming up to the New Testament. This has never changed, all right? So when they were living amongst each other, it's not like today where you can go and live in that person's neighborhood, your other tribe's neighborhood. You can't do that, all right? If you know the laws of the scripture, you can't go into their territory and live. That wasn't allowed like that, all right? Everybody had their own territory, and even though the tribes are together, they're separated into their own parts. They're always separated into their own parts, and that's even displayed in the churches and stuff where they have the women on one side, men on one side, even though they're together. All right, going back from Adam and Eve in the garden, them doing one side of the garden and the other side of the garden. All right, but we're always together but separated. So he went and got a man out of the land of Benjamin, all right? The part where Benjamin was inhabited. And this person he put over the nation of Israel to save them, all right? And there's always reasons for this. And we're going to even see that even at the time of Maccabees, all right? It was a Benjaminite that was helping, all right? So we're at 2 Maccabees 3 and 4.
2 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 4. But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city.
All right. So Simon, all right, the Maccabee, he was of the tribe of Benjamin, all right, and he was made governor of the temple, all right, and he fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. So this is what I'm starting to show you. The Benjaminite always has a problem with what the disorder going on, all right, the things going on that the high priest in them is dealing with, all right. Benjamin is always standing up. So here we have Simon of the tribe of Benjamin in the time of Maccabees, where they're reforming the temple and all of that. He's made governor over the temple, and he's fallen out with the priests about disorder in the city. This is always Benjamin's stance. So we always have to be able to understand Benjamin's characteristics when it comes to the other tribes. The other tribes will go off. Even Judah will go off. Benjamin is the one, he wants to keep the order. He's the one that's, you know what? Let's keep these laws, all right? Let's keep this original way. He's always fighting for the right way and hanging on at last while the other tribes are going on. So here we have once again a Benjaminite by the name of Simon, all right, at the time of the Maccabees, who's made governor of the temple and is falling out with the high priest over disorder in the city. So Benjamites always have this stance, all right, going back to last week when we were touching on Mordecai, all right, where Mordecai had that same stance, were the other people at that time, because this is why they're showing you Mordecai. The other people at that time is bowing down to the king and stuff like that. And it's Mordecai who's not, and that caused the nation to be under threat. So it was Mordecai's action. It wasn't something that the nation was doing, but it was this person, all right, who happened to be a Benjaminite who took the stance. So we're also going to go to the testament of Benjamin, all right, because we're going to show you before we go into the time of Christ in the New Testament that Benjaminites was told certain things, all right. One of the things they were told was how to spot a good man. So out of the other tribes, when their fathers was speaking to them and giving them their last words, Benjamin was told specifically how to spot somebody who's doing good, and we're going to go to that. So we're at the Testament of Benjamin, chapter 4, verse 1.
The Testament of Benjamin, the 12th son of Jacob and Rachel, chapter 4, verse 1. See ye therefore, my children, the end of the good man. Be followers of his compassion, therefore, with a good mind, that ye also may wear crowns of glory. For the good man has not a dark eye, for he showeth mercy to all men, even though they be sinners.
All right, so here he shows you Benjamin is told, all right, from the get-go, that a good man, all right, has not a dark eye. He showed mercy unto all men, all right, even though they're sinners. All right, so Benjaminites are being told this from ahead of the time. I just want people to pay attention to this. All right, so they're told this from ahead of time. When you see men, not only to your own people, but also to sinners. Just want you to know the culture at that time for Israelites. They weren't dealing with sinners. All right, going back to Acts and all of that with Peter and them speaking about they don't deal with sinners. All right, so it's only Benjamin that's being told, hey, you know, a good man deal with all people. Benjamin had this type of knowledge, all right, to tell his people this stuff, all right. So read that sentence again for the good man.
Verse 2. For the good man has not a dark eye, for he showeth mercy to all men, even though they be sinners. And though they devise with evil intent concerning him, by doing good he overcometh evil, being shielded by the Most High. And he loveth the righteous as his own soul. If anyone is glorified, he envieth him not. If anyone is enriched, he is not jealous. If anyone is valiant, he praiseth him. The virtuous man he laudeth. On the poor man he has mercy. On the weak he has compassion. Unto the Most High he singeth praises. As for him who has the fear of the Most High, he protecteth him as with a shield. Him that loveth the Most High he helpeth. Him that rejecteth the Most High he admonisheth, and turneth back. And him that hath the grace of a good spirit he loveth as his own soul.
All right, so Benjamin here is being told how to spot a good man. All right, he's being told here how to see a good man. And we're going to see that these things we're going to see in the time of Christ is why Benjamin has a certain stance at the time of Christ. All right, because Benjamin is being told how to spot these things. All right, if anyone's glory, he envieth not. Anyone enriched, he's not jealous. Anyone violent, he praises them. All right, he laudeth the poor, has mercy on them. He has compassion on the weak. All right, and singeth praises to the Father. All right, so Benjamin is telling on them all of this for a reason. All right, and we all know that all the testaments they're telling their children about the coming of Christ. All right, so we're going to go to Isaiah 42 and 6. All right, and we're going to see who is the light of the Gentiles.
Isaiah chapter 42, verse 6. I, the Most High, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles, to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I am the Most High, that is my name. And my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images.
All right. So here he's speaking to Isaiah and showing he's going to give thee for a covenant of people a light of the Gentiles. All right. We're going to see that that being fulfilled at the time of Christ. But even to just keep people hip, Isaiah, I've been looking into Isaiah there in his bloodline. Isaiah goes back to Amos, and Amos, there's no really no tie in the Bible to where we could find his bloodline. All right. They say he's from Judah, all right, but there's no actual bloodline tie in the scriptures or anything. It's all he say, she say. But when we go on and see how this scripture is fulfilled, I have to question why would the Most High say this to Isaiah? Because we're going to see who fulfills this saying, all right, when he's saying, I'm going to give you for a light to the Gentiles, all right? And we already know who's the light. We already know who's the light out of all the tribes, all right? It's Benjamites, all right? But I'm just showing you there that the Israelites, all right, is going to be given as a light to the Gentiles. So we're going to see which Israelites was given as a light to the Gentiles and what was happening at the time of Christ. All right, so we're going to go to 2nd Ezra 2 and 33.
2nd Ezra chapter 2, verse 33. I, Ezra, received a charge of the Most High upon the Mount Oreb, that I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught, and despised the commandment of the Most High. And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd, he shall give you everlasting rest. For he is nigh at hand, that shall come in the end of the world. Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. Flee the shadow of this world, receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly.
All right, so this is being spoken, all right, to Ezra through the Most High, all right, speaking and testifying of the Savior, and this Savior is bringing this everlasting light, all right? So we know Christ is the light. This is the light coming to the world, all right? So when we're going and we're seeing Isaiah 42 and being given for a light, this doctrine that Benjamin would have, what is the light? This is what we're telling people. What is the doctrine that is important? Because it seems like the Hebrew Israelites feel like they're the doctrine. They're the light, all right? That's not the light, all right? The light is Christ. We're seeing Christ is the light. So the doctrine that's light is actually Christ. It's not the 12 tribes or we're Hebrew Israelites or we're the real Jews. This is not the doctrine. This is not the light that we're speaking about. All right. We're speaking about Christ, and then Christ entails everything that's truth. All right. So then, yeah, the Hebrew Israelites are this, and all of these things that come under that. But Christ is the doctrine. Christ is the light. All right. And it's all about the doctrine of Christ at the end of the day. All right, so here we're seeing Christ being pronounced as the everlasting light coming to the earth. All right, so we're going to go to John 8 and 12.
John chapter 8, verse 12. Then spake Yeshua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life.
All right. So he said, he's the light of the world. He that followeth him shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. So this is the Messiah on earth now, declaring he's the light. All right. And he that followeth him is not in darkness, but shall have the light of life. So those who follow him, his followers at that time, these were the holders of the light. All right. So we're going to try to pay attention to these followers, because clearly people don't understand Benjamin being told all of these things. The fulfilling of that would have to come at Christ's time, all right? Because Christ is the actual light, all right? So where he see Christ now, the light now, coming on earth now, all right? Which he's the doctrine, he's everything, because that's what he's telling everybody. Everybody's saying he's fulfilling the stuff. He's the doctrine, he's the light. He's stepped on now, and now he's saying everybody that's dealing with him, these are the bearers of light, all right? So we all know, based on going through the scriptures prior, that Benjamin is supposed to be the bearers of light. All right, so we're going to go and pay attention to the followers of Christ and who they are. All right, so we're at Matthew 5 and 14.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. Ye are the light of the world. a city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
All right, so this is the Messiah speaking to the disciples again, showing them that you're the light of the world. How are they the light now? Because they have the light of Christ. They have Christ's doctrine. All right. And we all know, going back to the Benjamin lesson, that Benjamin is supposed to be the light unto Judah. So we're going to see how Benjamin's the light unto Judah, because for them to be the light, they have to have Christ's doctrine, and then they have to now what? Bring it on to who? Judah. All right, this is the fulfilling of it. So we're going to see if this is what's happening in the New Testament. All right. So we're going to confirm that the gospel of Christ is the light. We're at 2 Corinthians 4:1.
2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 1. Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not, but have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of the Most High deceitfully, but by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of the Most High. But in our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of the Most High, Ahia, should shine unto them.
All right. So it shows, if the gospel be hid, all right, it's hid to them that are lost. So people who don't understand what we're dealing with right now, the reason why it's hid, the reason why people can't understand is because they're lost. All right. The Most High has blinded them. All right. They can't see the gospel. All right. The God of this world. All right. People, when they used to read the scripture, they were thinking it's Satan. That's, no, this is the Most High blinding the minds of them that don't believe. All right. So even when we're coming into certain understanding where we're going to go into with Christianity and, what's actually going on right now, a lot of people don't know what's going on right now, and they're living their lives and they don't really see the setup that's going on because the Most High has blinded them and given them up to these imaginations. And this is the life that we're living right now, where everybody's has this own imagination, this own lifestyle, this own, life that they think is here created. All right. Some people think that's this they're going to do all the time, and everyone's in their own world right now. All right. And this is going on because they're all been blinded. All right. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of the Most High, should shine on them. So that's why they've been blinded, because Christ is the light. So if they're blind, they can't see the light. All right. So they can't see the doctrine of Christ. That's how they're blind. All right. So they're spiritually blind because they can't see the doctrine of Christ. All right. But this scriptures here is confirming that Christ is the light. All right. The doctrine of Christ is the light. All right, the gospel of Christ is the light. And Benjamin was to be a light unto Judah always. All right, so Benjamin was to have the gospel of Christ unto Judah always. All right, now we have the Messiah coming down and declaring he's the light, and the followers who's going to be him are going to be the light bearers because they've now gained the light from Christ. So we need to see who these followers are. All right, so we're going to get more information on Benjamin's light. All right, we're going into the International Bible Commentary to see what it has to say about that. All right.
The International Bible Commentary says this about the one tribe, the oracle, prophecy, suggests Benjamin joined the succession, bracket C, 1 Kings 12 and 20, where Septuagint adds and Benjamin to keep its earlier two yet, what is that? MT Masoretic script. Masoretic text has Benjamin in 1 Kings chapter 12 verse 21. Benjamin, the tribe of Saul, might be expected to have strong ties with the north against Judah. Jericho was firmly attached to the north, but other cities, notably Gideon, Confederacy, and Levitical cities, remained loyal to Jerusalem. Benjamite city as well. Gray suggests Simeon kept links with the north because of the pilgrimage to Beersheba in Amos chapter 5 verse 5. So Benjamin is the one tribe left to Judah. He kept the two pieces, meaning Judah and Benjamin, but just mentioned the one tribe that would join Judah. Benjamin is called the one tribe that David may have a light always before the Most High in Jerusalem. The tribe is also for David's sake.
All right, so this tribe is also for David's sake. All right, so this is for David's sake as in Judah's sake, but also for Christ. You go many manifold ways. All right, so this tribe was light always for Judah. All right, for the tribe of Judah and for the Benjamites' sake. I mean, for the Christ's sake, as we're going to see later on. All right, so continue.
David and his seed is also the light. Brackets 1 King chapter 15 verse 4. So David's light is also Benjamin's light. Their loyalty to the crown and to follow David's seed always for David's sake. They were followers of David and his seed. So David's light was their light. In prophecy, this light refers to the seed of David, the Messiah, and Yeshua said, I am the light of the world. Brackets John chapter 8 verse 12.
All right, so as we're showing the tribe of Benjamin, all right, who people class as the Caribbeans, all right, most specifically the Maroons in Jamaica, all right. This tribe we're showing that is the light of all the tribes, all right. They were given onto the tribe of Judah as a light, and we're showing that this light is doctrine, and this doctrine is the gospel of Christ. All right, this gospel of Christ, we're seeing Christ now enter into the land and declare he is the light, and all his followers are the light bearers. All right, so for this to actually, for Benjamin's prophecy to be fulfilled, it has to be Benjamin stepping up into that role. And this is what we're going to check out. Who is stepping up as the bearers of Christ's light, the gospel of Christ? And why is it for David's sake or Judah's sake? All right, and we have to go into the time of Christ to see why this is being mentioned like this. All right, but continue for us.
This light in Kings, one source says, quote, he refers to the Messiah who would be the bright star that would shine through all the world. Geneva Bible translation notes. Yeshua said to his disciples, ye are the light of the world. They were loyal followers of Christ. Therefore, Yeshua's light was their light. This continued through them.
All right, so we're seeing that Christ's followers, Christ's light was their light, all right? And this continued through them, all right? So Christ's followers became the bearers of light. So we want to see how is this tied with Benjamin and all of that, all right? But continue for us.
They preached the gospel of Yeshua's sake, Matthew chapter 10, verse 18. The disciples carried the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, brackets 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. They were bearers of that light because they followed loyal followers of Yeshua. Salakia, they were loyal followers of Yeshua. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things.
All right. Oh, no, continue. Sorry.
But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah saith, Most High, who has believed our report? So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High.
All right. So here it's showing you how shall they preach except they be sent. All right. How beautiful are they that preach the gospel of peace. So Christ has to come on the earth. People have to bear his light, and then they have to be sent out to hear this light. And we're going to see that this is all for Judah's sake. So Christ is going to come on the earth. We're going to see he's going to pick some people, and we're going to see where he's sending them to. All right. For their sake, and who's believing in the light, and who's going to hear the gospel, who's the light being sent to. All right, we're going to take in all of these things in the New Testament. All right, but continue first.
But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world. That's Romans chapter 10, verse 14 to 18. This started in Jerusalem, in the city of David, in the territory of Benjamin. Quote, and that repentance and remission of sins should be preached in his name among all nations, beginning at Jerusalem. End quote. Luke chapter 24, verse 47.
All right, and that's beginning at Jerusalem. We went into last week. Jerusalem is actually the place where Benjamin's territory is. So Jerusalem is in Benjamin's territory. So it will be starting at Benjamin. All right, so even the land location has to start with Benjamin. All right, it's starting at that starting point, and it starts from Benjamin. All right, the tribe of Benjamin out of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, so even the word, the light going out from Christ is going to be starting from Benjamin. It's going to be starting from their land and going out into the world. All right, it would have to start from their land and go out into the world. So it's still starting with Benjamin in that per se. But what we're going to go to now is when Christ is there now, is it starting with Benjamin, even though it's his land, all right? Because we see Jerusalem wasn't known as Benjamin's land at the time of Christ, all right? But continue going.
Those lights of the world were the disciples bearing the light of Christ, preaching it in Jerusalem, and then the whole of Israel and the Gentiles in Israel. The Great Commission in Matthew chapter 10, Yeshua said, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into the city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
All right, so even what we're going to see now, we're going to take a look at what Christ is actually saying, because he's now speaking to his disciples, and he's telling them not to go to the Gentiles, all right? Not to go to the Samaritans, but to go to the Israelites. So we want to know, who are these disciples then, all right? Because he's directing them not to the Gentiles, the Samaritans. We know who the Samaritans are, and then he's directing them to go to Israel, all right? But continue.
And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. Verses Matthew chapter 10, verses 5 to 6 and verse 22. The disciples were to carry the light of the gospel for Yeshua's sake, who is the family of David. The prophecies call Yeshua the root of David. Brackets Revelation chapter 5 verse 5, Revelations chapter 22 verse 16. So it is for David's seed's sake, Yeshua Christ.
All right, so Benjamin being the light and all of that is for Christ's sake. All right, so we're going to go now into the time of Christ, and we're going to see that Christ, the temple, dwelled in Benjamin, all right, which is Galilee at the time. All right, but we're going to continue. So Christ, all right, who's the temple of the Most High, we're going to see, all right, where he was dwelling was in Benjamin. We're going to start off with there. So we're going to go into a little excerpt, a little historical excerpt there.
Where did Benjamin end up in the promised land? Nehemiah reveals that Benjamin dwelt to the north of Judah. Nehemiah chapter 11, verse 31 to 35. Eventually, however, the territory of Benjamin lay to the north of Judah's portion and adjacent to it. In course of time, as the population greatly increased, the Benjamites spread still further north into Galilee, a much larger tract of land beyond the Samaritans.
All right, so before we even go, it's showing you that Benjamin's land spread into a part called Galilee. All right, we have to understand this going into the New Testament. All right, so Benjamin's area started to spread into Galilee because after the tribes went and the tribes split off and they came back, the tribe wasn't there. So Benjamin and Judah was able to actually spread out their land a little more, all right, because the tribes are gone. Now the tribes are there. There's still some remnants of the tribe, but their whole mass is not there like that. So therefore, Benjamin and Judah is the ruling ones and taking over a lot of the land, all right. So Benjamin's land is going into a part called Galilee, and we're going to see in the New Testament how Galilee plays a role in Christ's ministry, all right. But continue.
In course of time, as the population greatly increased, the Benjamites spread still further north into Galilee, a much larger tract of land beyond the Samaritans, while Judah expanded into Benjamin's original small piece of territory, in addition to retaining their own portion.
All right, so Judah expanded into Benjamin's territory. So a lot of things happen after the split that we have to understand. So that's what comes when we hear Jerusalem. You think of that as being in Judah's land and not Benjamin's, all right? Because you're thinking of the time of Christ and all of that in Jerusalem and understanding that Jerusalem is under Judah, all right? Not knowing that when you look at the scriptures, actually Jerusalem was under Benjamin, all right? So that happened between the land switching after the split, all right? But continue.
This explains why the city of Jerusalem, which was originally in Benjamin's territory, Joshua chapter 18 and chapter 28, was to be found in Judea, Judah's land.
All right, so Judea, we're going to see that that term Judea is going to be known as Judah's land, all right? So this is why people think Jerusalem belongs to Judah, all right, because it was in Judea in the time of Christ and all of that. So everybody believes that Judah is the controller of Jerusalem, when actually it was Benjamin who the Most High gave it to. All right, but continue.
So in Christ's day, we find Palestine divided into 3 provinces. Judea in the south, wherein dwelt the tribe of Judah, the real Jews.
All right, so the land was split into 3 parts at that time, all right? We have Judea. Everybody's familiar with the term Judea, all right? And that was the tribe of Judah. That was their land, all right? Continue for us.
Samaria in the middle, which was occupied by the Samaritans.
All right, and we all know Samaria, the Samaritans, Christ talking to the woman of Samaria by the fountain and all of those things. All right, so we know those people. So they had their land there as well. So continue for us.
3, Galilee in the north, inhabited by the tribe of Benjamin, who were then generally called Galileans.
All right, and this is what we're going to see. So a lot of people don't know this because the names start to change. So even in the New Testament, you don't see them referring to Judea or the Jews as tribe of Judah or whatever. Those terms was kind of being lost. They were kind of being given the names of the land at that time. That little switch was happening. So Judah was known as the people of Judea, but you would have to know that they're from the tribe of Judah, and we're going to prove that in the scriptures. All right, and what we're paying attention to is in Galilee, the Benjamites was known as the Galileans. All right, and these Benjamites, we're telling you today, a lot of people say predominantly are in the islands. All right, so we're going to do a little comparison to see if that could even match up when we look at the Galileans and the Benjaminites in the islands. All right, but continue for us.
Eventually, in the kingdom of the Most High, Benjamin will repossess that territory. Obadiah chapter 19. Yeshua was a Jew of the tribe of Judah. And the Bible says, he came unto his own, and his own received him not.
All right, so we're even going to go into that term of what that scripture was actually meaning when he said he came onto his own. Because when people read that, a lot of people just like to class all the tribes in there. He came onto all the tribes, and all the tribes didn't receive him. All right, and this is the misconception that's kind of been going out there. All right, so we're going to actually go into what that scripture means by he went onto his own, and his own didn't receive him, and then connect it back to what it meant in the prophecy about Judah being a light unto we call Benjamin being a light unto Judah, all right, and being put there as a light for Judah's sake. So for their sake, all right, for the sake of them, all right, having the gospel of Christ. So we're going to see how that all comes into play. But continue for us.
The Jews of Judah rejected him, but the Galileans received him gladly. But as many as received him, brackets Galileans, to them gave he power to become the sons of the Most High, even to them that believe on his name. That's, I think, John chapter 1, verse 12. During his boyhood years and most of his 3.5 ministry, he spent it in Galilee, in Benjamin's land.
All right, so we're even going to take a look at where Christ was going. How did he end up in Galilee, in Benjamin's land? All right, we're going to take a look at all of that. But if you take a look at the document there, there's a map there, all right? And the map has the land there. And we see them coming out of Babylon, and we see the map kind of pointing to where inhabitants went. So you see Judah going down into Judea, and Benjamin going into Galilee, and then you have the land of Samaria. That part was where all the tribes were, right? The tribes were in the land of Samaria, all right? Going back into, we all know what happened when they were living in the land, what the Most High had to do, they had to keep the laws in the land and all of that. So that's where the tribes were supposed to be. So the tribes wasn't there, all right? The Samaria people was there, and they were in between Judah and Benjamin. All right, knowing how the Most High always deals, we have to always remember the Most High always keeps us separate. So we're together, but separated. All right, so now we have 3 provinces there. Judea, that's where Judah would dwell. We have Samaria, where the people who took over for the other tribes would dwell. And then we have Galilee, where we're finding out now that Benjamin dwelled. And there's a reason why they don't put the microscope on Benjamin and Galilee and all of that. All right, but we're going to go into Palestine divided into 3 provinces. So the Holy Land divided into 3 provinces at the time of Christ. And we're going to take some information out the Smith's Bible Dictionary for Galilee.
Smith's Bible Dictionary definition of Galilee: circuit. This name, which in the Roman age was applied to a large province, seems to have been originally confined to a little circuit of the country round Kadesh Naphtali, in which were situated the 20 towns given by Solomon to Hiram, king of Tyre, as payment for his work in conveying timber from Lebanon to Jerusalem. Brackets, Joshua chapter 20, verse 7, 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 11. In the time of our Lord, all Palestine was divided into 3 provinces: Judea, Samaria, and Galilee.
All right, so the land was divided into 3 provinces: Judea, Samaria, Galilee. That's well known. All right, so we're going to take a look at the inhabitants. All right, so we're going to take a look at the tribe of Judah inhabiting the region called Judea.
Map of the territory of Judea in ancient Israel. Judea and the surrounding territories, southern Israel. Many of the cities in this map are known from the Old Testament period. Most were important in the New Testament times. This map includes some of the geographical locations within the ancient Judah region in Israel. Judah was the southern part of the country of Israel. When King Solomon died, the kingdom was divided into 2 parts, Israel and Judah, and the southern part of Israel became Judah. According to the scripture, it went from Jabba or Giba in the north to Beersheba in the south, and Jerusalem was part of Judah. The Hebrews from Judah were referred to as Jews or Judahites, and their land was known in Greeks and Latin as Judea.
All right, so the Jews, all right, was Judah. Judah was known as that, all right. Their land was always known as Judea, all right, and that's to the tribe of Judah. So we have to understand that at the time of Christ, Judah was known as the Judeans, all right. They were inhabiting the land of Judea, and that's going to be key to when we're looking at what happened at the time of Christ and who was dealing with Christ and who wasn't dealing with Christ, all right. So we have Judea that was inhabited by the land by the tribes of Judah, and we have Galilee that was inhabited by the tribe of Benjamin. All right, now we're going to take a look at Christ's birth and all of that and see how this all comes into play now. So we're at Matthew 2 and 1, and we're going to take a look at where Christ is born.
Matthew chapter 2, verse 1. Now when Yeshua was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel.
All right, so here we see even the New Testament is referring to Bethlehem and referring to it of Judea. All right, then after it refers to Bethlehem and says it's in the land of Judah. So we see Judea and Judah being linked together in the New Testament. All right, just like how we've been bringing it along here. All right, so we see first the scripture said, They saith unto him in Bethlehem in Judea. Then it says, For it is written by the prophet, Thou Bethlehem in the land of Judah. All right, confirming that this is Judah's land. All right, not Benjamin, not anybody, but Judea is Judah's land. All right, and the people of Judah live in Judea. This is what we're getting to. All right, and Christ, who is of Judah, is born in Judea. All right, but that land belongs to Benjamin. All right, we can kind of see why the Most High made that land belong to Benjamin, going back to he wanted Benjamin. He wanted that land to represent Benjamin because Benjamin never bowed and worshipped any man on earth while the other tribes did, all right? And for that reason, while Christ is coming, even though it's gone, the land is now Judah's, it's still Benjamin's, and that's how comes that's allowed to happen like that, to where we see and think that the land of Jerusalem belongs to Judah. But it just so happened after the split that Judah got that land after. All right, after they start to increase their land after the split and when they came back. And then Benjamin went along over to Galilee. All right, so this is all going to come into play. All right, so we're at Hebrews 7 and 14.
Hebrews chapter 7, verse 14. For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood.
All right, so it's evident that Christ sprang out of the tribe of Judah. All right, so when he was in Judea, he sprang out of the tribe of Judah. We all know that. So Judah is dwelling in Judea. That's what we're bringing attention to. All right, and not the tribe of Benjamin. All right, so we're at Luke 1 and 39.
Luke chapter 1, verse 39. And Mary arose in those days and went into the hill country with haste, into a city of Judah, and entered into the house of Zacharias, and saluted Elizabeth.
All right, so here in the scripture it shows, I'm just showing you Mary. So Mary, when she's dwelling, she's going in the haste, she's going into a city of Judah. So she's dwelling around areas of Judah. That's what the scriptures is pointing to. which is in Judea, all right? But it also, at certain points, they call it Judea. Certain points, they let you know it's Judah there, all right, in the scriptures. All right, so we're at Matthew 2 and 19, and we're going to see Joseph, all right, what happens. He's going to seek refuge for Christ, and we're going to see where he goes, all right? So we're going to take a look at those incidences in Matthew 2 and 19.
Matthew chapter 2, verse 19. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Most High appeareth in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. Notwithstanding, being warned of the Most High in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene.
All right, he shall be called a Nazarene. And we're going to even see that, a Nazarite, all right? The Nazarene, with the Nazarite vow and all that. So we see that Joseph, all right, when Herod was coming for them, he ran away. And when he was coming back, he was going to come to Judea, but he was warned in a dream to go into Galilee. And I'm going to show you why this is important in the scriptures, because Christ was dwelling, even though Judea is Benjamin's land, at that time it's not recognized as Benjamin's land. Benjamin is recognized as being in Judea, all right? So now we have him dwelling over there in Judea, and Joseph coming out of there and bringing Christ to live now in Galilee. So you have to understand why that's important, because Christ is now being moved. Christ is the actual real temple now, being moved into Benjamin's territory, all right? So that's what's going on. So Christ was born in Judah's land, all of that, and then eventually Joseph takes him up out there. They go run away. Herod is dead. All of these things happen, and he's being taken, and he's going to go back to his land among Judah, and the Most High shows him a dream to know, go to Benjamin's land, which is in Galilee. So we have to understand Galilee is Benjamin's land. Christ is now going to live there. Christ is now dwelling in there. Read us verse 22 again.
Verse 22. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. Notwithstanding, being warned of the Most High in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee.
All right, so Christ was living in Judea. Joseph takes him up out, gets out of there. Herod dies. His son goes in instead. He's going to bring him back to the land of Judah, but he's told to go, what we're seeing now, the area where Benjamin was dwelling, which is in Galilee. So Christ is now going to dwell over there, fulfilling the temple dwelling among Judah. And we're going to see how this all comes into play. So we're at the Testament of Benjamin again, just to show you that it was mentioned that Christ would be, or the temple of God would be in Benjamin's land, all right? The physical temple, and eventually the temple to come in the end, which we now know to be as Christ, who was showing himself as the temple of God, all right? So we're there at the Testament of Benjamin, chapter 9, verse 1.
Testament of Benjamin, the 12th son of Jacob and Rachel, chapter 9, verse 1. And I believe that there will be also evil doings among you, for the words of Enoch the righteous, from the words of Enoch the righteous, that ye shall commit fornication with the fornication of Sodom, and shall perish, all save a few, and shall renew wanton deeds with women, and the kingdom of the Most High shall not be among you. For straightway he shall take it away. Nevertheless, the temple of the Most High shall be in your portion, and the last temple shall be more glorious than the first. And the 12 tribes shall be gathered together there, and all the Gentiles, until the Most High shall send forth his salvation in the visitation of an only begotten prophet, And he shall enter into the first temple, and there shall the Most High be treated with outrage, and he shall be lifted up upon a tree, and the veil of the temple shall be rent, and the Spirit of the Most High shall pass on to the Gentiles as fire poured forth. And he shall ascend from Hades, and shall pass from earth into heaven. And I know how lowly he shall be upon earth, and how glorious in heaven.
All right, so even Benjamin telling his people once again how lowly Christ was going to be. So we're going to see that this is why Benjamin is able to spot Christ when he comes on the earth, because out of all the prophecies, Benjamin made sure to instruct his children, his seed line, on how Christ is going to come, how his demeanor is going to be, how he's going to be lowly, how to spot him doing these good things, while the other tribes, they're not paying attention to these things. Yeah. All right, the other tribes aren't paying attention to these things. So when Christ is doing these things, the other tribes are not aware how to spot that, and we're going to see that a certain people is aware to spot that. All right? Certain people are able to spot that and see, okay, he's checking off all the things our Father said a good man does. All right? So also we were showing you here that it says in verse 2, nevertheless, the temple of God shall be in your portion, and the last temple shall be more glorious than the first. So that scripture before, when we show Christ going into Galilee, is showing you the more glorious temple, Christ, now entering into Benjamin's part where he's living at the time of Christ, all right? Because we all know his land wasn't his land no more. So that's why Christ had to come up out of there, because he's the real temple, all right? And he's moving himself into Benjamin's land, and that's where he goes into Galilee, all right? And the Most High sends Joseph a sign for him to go to Galilee. So a lot of people wouldn't understand why that happened. So we're showing you why that happened here right now, all right? That this is fulfilling scriptures, all right? The temple of God has to dwell in the land of Benjamin. And Christ is the temple of God. So he was dwelling in the land of Benjamin, and we're going to see that he's living in Galilee. And Galilee would have to be Benjamin's land. All right? So we're at Luke 2 and 4.
Luke chapter 2, verse 4. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David.
All right, so he was from the house and lineage of David. So we're going to, actually, let me go to that Luke 2 again. Actually, maybe I put it, we're going to read that again. Luke 2 and 4, and we're going to go to verses 6.
Luke chapter 2, verse 4. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered.
All right. So here we see that Joseph is living in the land of Judah, all right? And he's living in the land of Galilee, and he has to get up out of Galilee and go to the land of Judah. Why does he have to go to the land of Judah? Because when tax time comes around, he's not of the bloodline of the Galileans, all right? He has to go to the land of Judah, and that's why they're showing you he has to go over there to do his taxes, because he's of that bloodline, all right? So we're going to see that the Galileans, people might now wonder, the Galileans from the other tribes no, the Galileans, you're going to see as we go along, are recognized as Jews, all right? So they're Jews. They're not of the other tribes, and the other tribes was never recognized as Jews, all right? So we're showing you the separation now, that Christ is from Judah, and these people are all Jews, but there's a difference between these Jews. There's Jews that are Judah, and there's Jews that are Benjamin. The Jews that are from Judah is dwelling in Judea, and the Jews that are from Benjamin is in Galilee. Now Christ, who was moved into Galilee, is there, and when tax time comes around, because his bloodline is of Judah, has to come up out of there, and they have to go to Judea to do the taxes, all right? Because, once again, Christ is the temple of God, and he's dwelling among who? Benjamin, all right? So now when tax time comes around, they have to go to the land where Judah is to do the taxes, confirming what we're showing here. All right, now we're going to show all the disciples. Who are all the disciples? So we're going to go to John 1 and 43.
John chapter 1 verse 43. The day following, Yeshua would go forth into Galilee, and findeth Philip, and saith unto him, Follow me.
All right, so Christ goes into Galilee and he finds Philip. All right, it says follow him. So he's in Galilee finding members. This is what we have to understand. So he's in Galilee. Now, it's not normal, once again, for people to live in an area where it's not your bloodline, all right? We see the only reason why Christ is over there is because a warning from God, all right? Or else he'd be in where his country is. And even when he has to do certain business things, law things, he has to go to his country to do that, because you can't be over there and do that in your country. It's not like today, all right, where things is off a bloodline. Okay, if you're from this bloodline, you have to stick with this region and only this hospital you have to go to. It goes by where you live. If you live here, then this is your region where you go do this and that. Homeschool or whatever. You get what I'm saying? But at that time, it was going by bloodline. So their bloodline, you could only do this in this region. All right, so this is what's going on here now. So now we have Christ, who's not supposed to be in this region. He's only in this region by happenings because the Most High told them to go there. All right, and they're hiding from Herod and his sons and all of those things. He's finding members in Galilee. So these members in Galilee would have to be what? Benjamites. All right, and he's finding now Philip. All right, this is what we have to see the story's telling you, because the story is never going to tell you what tribe these guys are from. The New Testament doesn't tell you that. So you have to pay attention to what's going on in the story. All right, so read from 1 John 43 again. John 41 and 43.
John chapter 1 verse 43. The day following, Yeshua would go forth into Galilee, and findeth Philip, and saith unto him, Follow me. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip findeth Nathanael, and saith unto him, We have found him of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Yeshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph.
All right, so now they start to say this, and I'm going to show you that Benjamin was always schooled in how to find a good man, how to find Christ. So now they're saying what? We found him, all right? I'm showing you they were able to spot a good man, and they're saying, we know them, we found the man. And I'm going to show you that it was on Benjamin to always pay attention to the doctrine of the law and all of these things. And the Galileans, they had paid attention to these things as well. All right, but continue for us.
Verse 46. And Nathanael said unto him, Can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip saith unto him, Come and see.
All right, so they're saying that too. So now you're going to see that these people who have a certain way about them know about the way of the people in Judea. So they're like, yo, can righteousness come out of those people over there who don't, observe the law like how we observe the law in these things? And you're going to see this is a Benjamin standpoint. Going back to how last week we showed how Mordecai was, how the tribe of Benjamin is, how the people of the Caribbean are, all right? They're more, firm on the law than the other tribes, all right? Being that they still keep these certain ways, all right? They're always closer to the Most High when everybody goes off. So now we're seeing the same thing here. All right, continue for us.
Verse 47. Yeshua saw Nathanael coming to him, and saith of him, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Yeshua answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee.
All right, so we're gonna I'm gonna just go into guile right now. So that word guile is from the Greek word G1388, and it's dolos. All right, and that's even where they get the term dollar from. All right, that dolos term. All right, and it means craft, deceit, a trick, bait. All right, figuratively, wile. All right, so it's craft, deceit, guile, subtlety. All right, to decoy. So he's like, this is an Israelite where there's no deceit, there's no deception, all right? They're not dealing with what? Deception. This is what Christ is really paying attention to. He's not paying attention to, he doesn't sin or whatever, because Christ knows everyone sins. So that's not what he's looking at. He's looking at, you know what? These people don't have none of the deceit, the doctrine in them, all right? They have the light. This is the Israelite that's not dealing with the deceit. That's how comes they're able to see him clearly, because he's the light, all right? So continue for us. All right, so let's pay attention to that word. That word dolos, that's what they use for dollar. And it's even called craft, deceit, all of that. All right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
John chapter 1 verse 49. Nathanael answered and saith unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of the Most High, thou art the King of Israel.
All right, so this is, you're wondering where are these people getting this righteousness from? All right, if you check the line, it was always Benjamin who was standing up saying, yo, I know what this is. And this is Benjamin again testifying their belief and their faith again. Now when the Messiah is actually there, because they were doing it before the Messiah was there. Now he's here now, and they're doing it while he's here, and I'm going to tell you that. So while he's here, they're the ones that saying, yo, this is the Son of Man. This is how and he's surprised. He's not surprised, but he knows this is how Benjamin is. That's what comes through the scripture. Benjamin was being treated like this. He know that this is how Benjamin would be when he comes on the earth. All right, but continue for us.
Verse 50. Yeshua answered and said unto him, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. And he saith unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of the Most High ascending and descending upon the Son of Man.
All right, so Christ was surprised at the faith of these Galileans, because he's like, yo, I just said I seen you under the tree, and yo, you believe? All right, this is what impresses Christ. If you now that you believe in him, because the doctrine the whole time was about Christ. This is what he's looking at. How much people believe in his words and the truth and what's said in the scriptures. All right, not you completing the law and these things. And this is what we're going to see. This is what he's looking at, because a lot of people will try to complete those things and not believe in him. All right. So we're going to go into the definition of Galilee out the Catholic Encyclopedia.
Galilee, Septuagint and New Testament, Galilea, Galilea, the native land of Yeshua Christ, where he began his ministry and performed many of his works, and whence he drew his apostles. Originally, the Hebrew Galil, derived from Galal, to roll, meant a circle or district, and in its feminine and plural forms was applied indifferently to several regions in Palestine.
All right, so it shows you Galilee, the native land of Christ, and it's not his native land, but it's just where he was beginning, he was living and stuff like that. So it became his native land, because that's where he was living majority of the time, all right? And the temple was to dwell in Benjamin, all right? So here we see that this is the lands where he was, where he performed many of his works and drew his apostles. So we're going to see how he's able to do his works in this land and not Judea, because in order for him to do the works, he had to be around people who believe. All right, so this is why Benjamin had to be the light onto the thing, because you're going to see that they believe, so he was able to do things around them, all right, in comparison in his own place with his own people. All right, so we're going to go to Luke 3:1, and we're going to see and take a look at the political status at that time, and we're going to see Pontius Pilate, all right, and we're going to see Herod, and we're going to see which parts are they ruling and why. All right, so we're going to look at Luke 3:1.
Luke chapter 3, verse 1. Now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate, being governor of Judea, and Herod, being tetrarch of Galilee, and his brother Philip, tetrarch of Iturea, and of the region of Trachonitis, and Lysanias, the tetrarch of Abiline, or Abiline.
All right.
Abiline, Salakia.
So this is what you need to pay attention to. So Pontius Pilate was governor over Judea, all right? And Herod was over Galilee, all right? So we had Pilate, who was under Herod, dealing with Judea. So this is the region Pilate has ruled and reigned over. And we're going to get to how this is important in Christ's time. And Herod is over the people of Galilee. All right. And this is even the coming clutch at the time of Christ's crucifixion. Okay. So we're going to see that. So we're going to go to a governor. All right. What's a governor?
Governor, Strong's definition, number G2230, Greek word hegemonio, from G2232, to act as a ruler, be governor.
All right, so he was a ruler. They were rulers, all right? So Pilate was a ruler over Judea, Herod ruler over Galilee. All right, it was the tetrarch.
Tetrarch, Greek definition, Strong's number G5075, Greek word tetrarcheo, from G5076, to be a tetrarch, be tetrarch.
Give us the definition of tetrarch now.
Tetrarch, noun. Tetrarch, plural noun, tetrarchs. In the Roman Empire, the governor of one of 4 divisions of a country or province, one of 4 joint rulers. Archaic, a subordinate ruler.
All right. So we're going to go to the Galileans in the book of Josephus. So we're going to see the Galileans at the time of Christ wasn't spoken about. All right. Since we came into this whole thing, we've been dealing with the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and then we even went with the Essenes. All right. One people we haven't been paying attention to through the whole thing, though, is the Galileans. All right. So there's 4 people there. And the reason why we aren't paying attention to the Galileans is because Christ wasn't aiming none of his stuff at the Galileans. All right. He was aiming it at the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the people of Judea and all of that. But we didn't hear him speaking anything about the Galileans. All right. So a lot of people don't know that there were actually people living there and a region where they were living. All right. Because Christ mentioned nothing about them. But we see them being mentioned with Christ. Yes. Yeah. Because you know what I'm saying? They were all believing. So he was just going to get believers out of there. All right, that's what we're seeing. So we're at the book of Josephus, and we're at book, what was it, 18?
Yes.
All right, chapter 1.
Josephus, book 18, chapter 1. But of the 4th sect of Jewish philosophy, Judas the Galilean was the author. These men agree in all other things with the Pharisaic notions, but they have an inviolable attachment to liberty and say that the Most High is to be their only ruler and Lord. They also do not value dying, any kinds of death, nor indeed do they heed the deaths of their relations and friends, nor can any such fear make them call any man Lord. And since this immovable resolution of theirs is well known to a great many, I shall speak no further about that matter, nor am I afraid that anything I have said of them should be disbelieved, but rather fear that what I have said is beneath the resolution they show when they undergo pain.
All right. So this is a 4th sect. All right. And this 4th sect, they had some doctrines. And there is Judas the Galilean. All right. And these people agree in all things, all right, with the Pharisaic sect. So they're kind of close in understanding with the Pharisees. And you're going to see how this comes into play with even Paul, all right, because Paul was Benjamin, but why he would be able to go and become a Pharisee, because their beliefs is kind of the same, all right? They're on the same notion, all right? But they have a inviolable attachment to liberty. And this is what you have to understand, what connects them to Benjamin, because Benjamin is always the one that's dealing with the liberty, the things of the Most High. This is Benjamin. This is his trait of all the tribes, all right? And they say that the Most High is to be their only ruler and Lord. That goes back to Benjamin. That goes back to Mordecai, saying why they're not going to bow down, why they're not going to go to a next king, why they're not going to, treat people with respect like this who is not the Most High, all right, unless they need to be treated like that because they're righteous. All right, so continue for us. Oh, actually, no. That was the whole chapter there, right?
Yeah.
All right. So it says also, nor can any such fear make them call any man Lord. So this goes back to Mordecai again, that nothing, this is what made the nation come under, almost be able to be eliminated, because he didn't show the fear to the king, and the king wanted to deal with all the children of Israel. All right. So, but he wasn't going to stand back from that. All right. This is the same stance that these people, the Galileans, who we're now seeing is the tribe of Benjamin, this is the same stance they have, all right? That's making them different from Judah, all right, or the people of Judea, all right? And this was their reputation. This is what they're known for.
And the people themselves know that this is what we are.
Yeah.
As of all the tribes, we don't do that.
We don't do that, right? This is what all these Galileans know. And people knew these people as that. And we're going to see that that's why they put Herod over them, all right? Because they're like, we need the big boss over these people. You're going to see that these people are rowdy. These people deal with insurrections. These people deal with plunderings. All of these things that is attached to Benjamin, all right? And that's why they put Herod over them and not polite. Kind of the same reason why we were a church, or we were under a church called GOCC, they're putting other people over us. So they're like, these are Benjamites. We got to start putting these other people over us, all right? Because we're not... If something is wrong with the law, we're going to have a thing against it, and then they don't like that, so now they try to put a next authority over you to keep you down. This is what's been going on since ancient times. All right, so we're going to go in the differences between the Galileans and the Judeans.
All right. The difference of some customs of the Galileans from those of Judea, from the Talmud and Hebraica, author John Lightfoot. It is not impermanently questioned with what inhabitants Galilee and Perea were first planted after the return out of Babylon, when you scarce find any mention of them in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah, but of those only who inhabited Judea and the land of Benjamin. But whosoever they were, whether pure Israelites, or those that were more mixed, or some of the 10 tribes, it is certain those that inhabited Galilee differed much from those that dwelt in Judea in certain rites, and not a little in the dialect of their speech.
All right, so we're going to see that the Galileans, all right, they differed in a lot, in certain rites, all right, and it's showing you not a little in their dialect. So in a lot of their dialect is different from the Judeans, and this is where we're going to start to see what's happening. All right, so the Galileans are known for having a certain dialect. So even though they're from the same tribe or whatever, something happened to where all the mix and everything, that the Galileans, their speech and their dialect was different from Judah, to where they could be pointed out easily. All right.
The Jewish Pandit observed a various difference between them, out of which we produce these few instances instead of more. In the place noted in the margin, it is discoursed concerning the form and manner of writing the donation of the marriage dowry. So and so say they, the people of Jerusalem writ, and the Galileans writ as those of Jerusalem. But the inhabitants of Judea something varied, where the Gemarist thus, the Galileans' care was of reputation, not of money. The inhabitants of Judea, their care was of money, not of reputation.
All right, so this was the difference. This is what another one of the difference between the people. Judah, all right, or the inhabitants of Judea, who we know as Judah, they care about money. All right, that's what their care was about in the land, the money and the politics and all of these things. All right, while the other people was about reputation and doing things right, and this is what they were paying attention to. So we had two sides that paid attention to two different things. So that's what comes, you see at the time of Christ, we have the Galileans who are not really in the politics and the money and all of those things. So even when you go into Christ, going into the temple and saying, you know, money bearers and all of these things, turning my temple into this, Galileans are not in there controlling that. All right, that's the priests, and that's Judah, all right, dealing with that, or the Judeans, because it's in their land. All right, so the Galileans' care was of reputation, and that's what comes, they were able to see Christ because they paid attention to how people were. All right, continue.
The wise men say in Judea they did serve works on the Passover and Passover eves until noon. In Galilee, not at all.
All right, so they showed you there that in Judea they were still doing extra works what they can on the eves and stuff, but Galilee, the Galileans, once they knew these times are coming, they shut off, lock off. All right, and you can even see that in some Benjamites area that they don't play, they still keep the Shabbat there. Once it's Shabbat, they lock off. There's certain stores and stuff where you see people from the Caribbean, they have and they honor the Shabbat. That store is not going to be open on that day, all right, in comparison to other places or other people, or they still open up, all right. Whether they be a lot of the, even down here, a lot of the stores on what we call like Caribbean stores that sell food, or restaurants, if they're dealing with the Shabbat, that store is closed down at a certain time, and they'll open up in the evening time on the Shabbat day. I think there's a store right up on the thing that does that. No, up in Scarborough. I think it's Ito Vito. One of them, yeah. But there's a lot of them stores that they do that. All right. So we're going to go now to the Galileans and their dialect.
Galileans' grammar and dialect. Galileans' grammar. This has as much to do with word order as it does to do with how words are used. A very common example is the present participle. In Galilean, it is used very much like the English present tense, I go, rather than a true participle, I am going.
All right, so this we're going to see is like a kind of like a Creole, all right, like a pato. So they're saying I go instead of saying I'm going. So this was kind of what was going on in Galilee. They had this type of dialect, all right, and we're going to see that they're standing out more than the Judeans because they were using this dialect. And you're going to see that this dialect is not a normal dialect, all right? And why they're being able to be noticed by this dialect. Even though they're from the same bloodline as these people, all right? They developed this certain dialect that started to happen, all right? In that land, in that region there. All right, and one of those they're showing you, they're talking in, we call, in present tense, I go, rather than saying the true participle, which is I am going. All right, so I go. That's not, you know, some I say to you right now, I go. You already know what that kind of sound like. All right, instead of I am going. All right, that sound like somebody in the Caribbean already cutting up the words. All right, so this is what they're saying, I go instead of I am going. So these things in the grammar made them noticeable. So they look to get like the same, but their dialect made them stand out, and we're going to see that as we go along in the scripture. So we're at the characteristics of the Galileans.
Characteristics of Galileans. On the whole, the Galileans are said to have been strict in their religious observances. Measures and weights were peculiar in Galilee. First,
You can go down to the Galilean
Okay.
Sicarii.
sorry.
Galilean Sicarii.
Okay. The Galilean Sicarii were dreaded, but it is for their faulty pronunciation that the Galileans are especially remembered, and the gutturals generally were. Salah?
You didn't get this
Oh.
part right here.
Salakia, okay. The Galilean Sicarii were dreaded. Study of the traditions was not one of the Galilean virtues, neither was their dialect method very flexible.
All right, so their dialect method wasn't very flexible. All right, and they weren't one that studied like the virtues of of these traditions, the traditions that these people, we see that Christ said these people made up. All right, the traditions of their fathers. All right, continue for us.
But it is for their faulty pronunciation that the Galileans are especially remembered. Ayin and Aleph and the gutturals generally were confounded, no distinction being made between words like Amar, Hammer, Hamar, or Amar and Imar. So Amar equals hammer, hammer is wine, Amar a garment, Imar a lamb.
All right, so they weren't differentiating. They were differentiating their words and stuff. They weren't paying attention to that. All right, and you're not allowed to do this. So this is what makes the dialect different. It's not a dialect. It's people breaking the law of the language. All right, so this is what the people over in Galilee was doing. They're breaking the laws of the dialect that made it another language. All right. So this is what was going on there. So it's the same language, but these people over there just started to break up the language, as we're seeing. All right, and this is what you kind of see when we go into the Creoles or the Patois. It's the same language, but the people are breaking up the language. All right, and now you think it's a new language. So this is what was going on. We see with the Galileans and the Judeans. All right. Continue for us.
Therefore, Galileans were not permitted to act as readers of public prayers.
All right. So they weren't allowed to read public prayer because you can't read the word of the Most High in those terminology because you're going to be mispronouncing. You're going to be doing all of these things that going to make the people think the Most High said something that wasn't said there. All right. So this was a thing then. They couldn't talk. They couldn't think. So this was noticeable. All right. And we all know, all right, because we all know who the people say the Benjamites are today, which is the people in the Caribbeans. All right. Now, we all know you call American, they have an accent. We know their accent, all right? But if you put the American accent in or the Caribbean accent, which one are you going to think stands out the more? Everybody knows the other one stands out more, especially when both is trying to talk English, all right? That these ones are breaking certain laws and stuff with the English, and that's why their language kind of stands out. So now imagine we all have somebody who's fresh, let's say from the islands, and they're trying to talk English or something, or them trying to say the English words properly. You know that that's not going to work. You get what I'm saying? They'll try their hardest, and it's even funny sometimes when they're trying their hardest to say the words correctly. All right, it's like they have to restrain themselves and say the words now right, because the whole time they've been breaking the law of the language, and that's how they created a new language. So this is what we're seeing that the Galileans were known for. The language was already there, and they're purposely mixing up the words and making up their own thing, and that's making a whole new language. So we're going to take a look at the comparison with the people that they're comparing this tribe to in today's modern day time, all right? So we're going to look at the Patois and the language of Jamaica and just see what they say about this language.
Patois. The language of Jamaica. One huge difference in the comparison of Jamaicans and Americans is the dialect that is being spoken between the two of them.
All right, so there's a difference in dialect. So we all know there's New Orleans twang, there's this, there's all difference. But when people look at the grand scope of the dialect, their dialect is different from the Caribbean dialect. All right, and that's what this is showing you here. All right, but continue.
When you visit Jamaica as an American and you come in contact with a native Jamaican, you feel as though you and them are speaking two entirely different languages from one another. The truth is that you are both speaking the same language, just different dialects.
All right, so you're speaking the same language, just different dialects. This same thing now, we're just using comparison, all right, is what's happening at the time with Christ and the Judeans, all right? So we have the Galileans who now have this dialect. They look the same as them, but their language is totally different from the people that's living across from them in the next land, all right? But continue for us.
Most Jamaicans speak a dialect of English that was developed in Jamaica and has formed a strong culture that the people of Jamaica have grown very proud of. This dialect has been one of the strongest unifying forces for the Jamaican people, as well as one of the most recognizable characteristics of the Jamaican people in pop culture, other than dreadlocks, of course.
All right, so this is something that stands out in Jamaica. It's in the Caribbean. It's in all the Caribbeans, but they always use Jamaica as the standing out force, all right? But this dialect is there, all right? And when people see that, they know that this is, when you hear this dialect, it comes from them. So that same thing was attached to the Galileans. So we're just putting two and two together, all right? This is all we're doing here, all right? And seeing if it matches up. And this is what we're seeing. It's the same things happening up until now, all right? But continue for us.
This dialect of Jamaica is known as patois or patois. It is important to note that patois can be called any number of other names such as Jamaican patois, Jamaican Creole, Black English, Broken English, and has even been known to be referred to as baby talk on occasion. Patois is considered an unacceptable official language.
All right, so this is called an unacceptable official language. So even though these people speak that in that region and that's how everybody over there talk and everything, the world does not recognize that as an acceptable language. All right, they can't call that a language. All right, there's reasons why they can't call it a language. All right, but continue.
This means that it is not to be used in any formal settings and is not fully recognized as its own language.
All right, so it's not fully recognized as its own language. We'll finish the rest next week. All right, so this week we just show you and beginning to show you how Christ was the light. All right, so Benjamin, we understood, was to have the light and be a light unto Judah, and we see Christ being announced as the light coming into the earth. We see Christ coming into the earth announcing he's the light. We see Christ announcing that his followers will be light bearers. So for Benjamin's prophecy to be fulfilled, we're understanding that this had to be Benjamin. Then we take a look at who Christ was dealing with. We're seeing Christ dealing with the Galileans. All right. Then we took a look at who the Galileans were and seeing that it's a possibility that they're Benjamites. And then we seen that Judah is dwelling and known as Judeans. All right. And we took a look at the Judeans or Judah. That's where Christ being born and eventually being moved into Galilee. And we're now seeing how that connects to the temple being in Benjamin, because the land of Benjamin, all right, Judah took over. So now that the new temple came in, he moved now to where at that time was known as the land of Benjamin, to why he would go and move himself into Galilee. And then he chose all of his members out of Galilee, and all the people out of Galilee were able to pinpoint him, because we're seeing Benjamin was showed how to spot a good man. And this is what they're waiting on, being told from their fathers and all of these things. All right. We then went through the scriptures and showed you that the Galileans, all right, the Galileans, they were dealing with liberty, all right? They didn't bow down to any other person or call them lords. They only dealt with the Most High, and we see how that matched up with Benjamin, going back to Mordecai, going back to last week, All right. Going back to last week and all of that. All right. Then we came now and we seen that the Galileans also, all right, in the land that they were dwelling with, they had Herod over them. And we're seeing why. We're going to see why Herod was over them. All right. Herod, the more stricter one. All right. That regime, other than Pilate, who was put over the Judeans. All right. Who they weren't really going against the authorities like that. Like how Benjamin always goes against authorities, going back now to the time of Esther and Mordecai and all of that. That was all Benjamin dealing with that. All right. And then we went into showing now the Galileans are known for a certain dialect that a lot of people are not paying attention to. And as we go into the New Testament, you're going to see that this dialect is spoken and mentioned of all throughout the New Testament of being something that they could pinpoint and spot out the disciples. And even Christ took on this dialect we're going to see. All right? Well, we're all going to go and finish that next week. But all of these things are showing us to how this is all pinpointing to Benjamin and showing us Benjamin's important role and how Benjamin always deals with the Messiah. All right? Benjamin always stands up for what's right. All right? And we, all right, today, what people are saying, or be predominantly Benjamin, we're from the islands, we'll be from the region where people are saying Benjamin is dwelling at. And it's no coincidence why all these things are tying in together, which is why we're going through the lesson, the tribe of Benjamin, the light of the world, to show Benjamin's true purpose and how this all has to deal with Christ. All right? It's not just going through the tribes to show who's the tribes. This is a total different reason. All right? We're showing Benjamin's purpose and them being the light of the world and how things was operating truly in the New Testament where we're not paying attention to the Galileans, all right? This fourth sect of Israelites that no one was paying attention to and that we're identifying as the Benjamites, all right? So with that being said, we're going to go to Philippians 4 and 8.
Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do, and the Most High of peace shall be with you.
All right, and the Most High peace shall be with you. So with that being said, all praises be unto the Most High, Almighty Ahaya. This is the Essene Community Church of Christ. My name is Brother Shamar.
My name is Brother Tabak.
And we hope you enjoyed today's Shabbat report / lesson. Peace and light be with you. And Kwam Yasharallah.